Hey guys, Morelli here, and today I wanted to show you guys this team from Nozuka. If you guys have been keeping track, the season always ends at the end of every month, and that means on the first week of the next month, people will be posting teams that they used in the last season that did really well. And this team really caught my eye. This team placed third overall, I believe, and this has some really unconventional Pokemon on, so I wanted to showcase this team. I will also be posting other Nozuka teams. I will be posting around of. I intend to post around like 10 or so teams. Uh, take a quick look at them. Show you guys a rental code. If they don't have it, I will make one for you guys, and also the Pokepaste. That is a video that is coming up pretty soon. And also, another video that is coming up soon is the idea of how to use or incorporate unconventional or less meta Pokemon in the format. So you see a lot of teams that are just built along the lines of Zapdos, Urshifu, Landorus, Mimikyu, Cinderace, and those are all fine and well, but I also think that the nature of 3v3, the ability to pick your three Pokemon according to your opponent's matchups, that really favors your ability to incorporate uh, some less conventional either picks or unconventional sets that your opponents are not anticipating and therefore cannot counter as solidly in team preview. Of course, the flip side to that is there is no point in the element of surprise if you're just gonna surprise them with a wet noodle, right? It's not gonna do a lot of damage. So you have to have a good game plan of how to incorporate that Pokemon so that it actually can pose a threat. And this team does that really well. So it has a lot of different types of win conditions. So it can try to Dynamax with Dragonite or Celesteela, or you could also use Lanturn plus Celesteela for a more switch heavy game plan, and also bring any one of Clefable, Snorlax, or Dragonite depending on your matchup. Or you could lead with the Nihilego and try to get the Clefable or Snorlax sweep going. So there's a lot of ways to play this team out, which is it just means that all these less conventional picks are very well integrated into the team. With that out of the way, let's get into the battles. So let's get into the first game. My opponent has a Cinderace, which is a problem. But that just means that I'm going to be forced to bring Dragonite. My Dragonite is pretty bulky despite the choice band, so that means that I can take it on 1v1. And I'm actually also going to lead Celesteela as well. And that would have a pretty good matchup against basically everything other than the Coco and the Cinderace. And against something like Coco, I can just switch out into the Lanturn and deny that matchup. So I feel okay leading Celesteela, though you could argue like Cinderace is such a poor matchup for this team in particular that yeah, he does lead with it, which is fair. And I am put on the back foot from turn 1. So maybe I was better off leading with the Dragonite instead. So here I know that my Dragonite is very necessary. I don't want to just switch it into a Pyro Ball and lose my multi-skill or anything like that. So I actually want to go hard into Lanturn first and to order to kind of scout that out. Because I feel like he didn't bring Coco and Cinderace at the same time. So he led Cinderace, and that probably means that I'm not gonna get too much use out of Lanturn this game, I think. And he Dynamaxes, which is really nice because it actually, and he also goes for the Airstream. So yeah, if I went into the Dragonite, that could have gone really badly. he definitely was trying to predict that. And I'm gonna be able to take the reduced base power from the Max Knuckle. Seems that he doesn't have a Life Orb either, so I'm easily going to be surviving either a Max Knuckle or even a Max Strike from Giga Impact as well. But it seems like he's just gonna go for the Max Knuckle. And that means that I can get out safely with this Lanturn, and I'm going to be able to bring my Dragonite in and actually get to Dynamax at full health, which is a big deal. So when you switch them on in to an attack and then Dynamax, you're basically essentially like losing double the value out of your Dynamax as you would have otherwise, like from Dynamaxing from full health. So this Dragonite is very bulky. It's near max HP, and I think about this situation because I don't have too much speed investment on this Dragonite. I think it is just better off for me to go for the Max Drake. Uh, the reason for that is that would let me take as little damage as possible against the Cinderace, minimize my damage taken, and maybe if I'm at high enough health, I can maybe survive another attack. So he goes for the Giga Impact. Max Strike, but it is most definitely based on Giga Impact, and he slows me down. So even if I were to go for the Max Airstream, I wouldn't have actually been able to outspeed him, even if he were a slower type of Cinderace. If he is fast, even at +1, I just don't outspeed. But judging by the moves that he's went for, I have a bit of a feeling that he might be like an Assault Vest, maybe, because he's not shown Life Orb, he's not Sash, with that said. So here I just go for the max Airstream to even out my speed. Dragonite is uninvested, but it's still like decently fast, and he also doesn't know that I'm slow, so this will force him to play around a potentially max speed Dragonite. And yeah, he does go into the Hippowdon, as I suspected, and he doesn't have a really good matchup against Dragonite other than just walling with Hippowdon. So this makes total sense. He will either go for the Yawn or the Stealth Rock, and because I am at high enough health to live a Stealth Rock damage, I'm just gonna go for the Max Drake, which is going to be doing the maximum amount of damage. And he indeed does go for the Stealth Rock. And here, I think it's very likely that he will go for Yawn. I can actually just outrage and straight up kill this Hippowdon if I want to. But the question is, do I want to? So I'm just gonna go into the Lanturn and stall out some Sand turns because I am expecting Sand Dracovish to be their final Pokemon. So I want to play around that because that is the most threatening thing on available for my opponent. So I'm just gonna switch in on the Yawn, not taking the Earthquake. And I'm just gonna go for the Scald, and it doesn't knock out. And this is actually good because that means that I'm able to stall out an extra turn of Sand as he goes for the Yawn. So I would have stalled out on one more turn of Sand as he Earthquakes and KOs the Lanturn, or switches out into the Dracovish. But none of that happens because I get the burn on the Hippo. Actually ends up being the worst possible situation for me, as I don't get the extra turn of Sand removed, but he also gets to bring out the Dracovish immediately. And I am asleep, and yeah, that is me showing exactly how the Dragonite is EV'd. But I'm just gonna go for the Scald here, because there's no way I'm gonna preserve my Lanturn here. It just isn't doing too much. It's set very low, it's asleep, and also there's Stealth Rocks. So because he locked himself into Outrage, which is very fortunate for me, I'm actually just gonna take this opportunity to go straight into the Celesteela. I know that the Meteor Beam straight up won't one-hit KO, and for that reason, I'm just gonna go for the initial Leech Seed. He is going to confuse himself with the Outrage, which is really nice. I am gonna land the Leech Seed, but actually, in hindsight, maybe it was better to just go for the Meteor Beam, knowing that my Dragonite would live the Stealth Rock. And even though Meteor Beam won't finish it off for sure, I could have finished it off with Extreme Speed. So the way I played it was suboptimal, because that meant that I could have missed either the Leech Seed or the Meteor Beam, and both could have been really bad. So yep. But fortunately for me, I'm gonna come out on top here. I land the Meteor Beam. Not enough, but as you see, the 2 Leech Seed damage is enough to take it out. So yeah, so that's why I did it, but I don't think it was the optimal choice, because you know, Leech Seed can miss a lot. So yeah, let's get into the second game then. My opponent has a pretty interesting offensive team. He's got the Cinderace, Landorus, and Talonflame. Talonflame is not something that you see a lot of, but Urshifu, Cinderace, Landorus, these are all definitely something we see a lot. And because, as I said previously, with this Cinderace, I definitely want to think about bringing Dragonite. And I lead Nihilego here, because Stealth Rock is really good. Breaks potential Sash on either the Urshifu or the Weavile. Weavile is probably the most likely lead here, though. And the problem with this 3 that I brought is that I am very pressured by Weavile from the get-go. So it'd be nice if he doesn't bring lead Weavile, because then I would be able to set up rocks, and its Sash won't be able to come into play. But that isn't going to be happening today. My opponent has lead Weavile, and I'm a bit scared, because if I don't Dynamax, there's a great chance that I'll just die to the 3-hit triple axle. And if I lose something just straight up on turn 1, it's already a bad matchup. I can't afford to do that. So knowing that this isn't really the optimal situation here, I'm almost forced to Dynamax. Fortunately, I do have Max Rockfall, and that would let me summon Sandstorm, which would then remove the Weavile's Focus Sash. I would bring it down to the Sash, and Sandstorm will finish it off. So I wouldn't have to waste 2 turns of Dynamax against this. So yeah, as you can see, the first 2 hits don't do too much, but because of the increasing damage, I do end up taking slightly more than half. So if I didn't Dynamax, I would have gone down on turn 1. So good thing that I did. Well, not good, because this is still a really awkward situation, because I already spent my Dynamax, so this is a 2v3, but this isn't a really good situation for me. It's not like I got a Beast Boost or anything. And he brings in the Landorus. Yeah, this is trouble, because, well, he'll be able to Dynamax this if he wants. Max Rockfall is still going to be doing a good solid chunk. Good thing he didn't bring in Cinderace or something like that, because if he had like Ironhead Cinderace or something, and he just brought it in like this, that would be like very over, because I wouldn't even be able to get the rockfall off on them. But in this case, he brings in the Landorus as his Nihilego check, which is great, because that means that I'm able to get a lot of damage on it. So he is forced to Dynamax here, which is good, because my Nihilego will be going down to the max Quake, but at the same time, I can just bring in the Celesteela, which is basically the best case scenario, because this team doesn't have too many ways to deal with Dynamax without using mine, but Celesteela versus Landorus is a good enough matchup for Celesteela to take care of that. But he just goes for the max Airstream. I really disagree with that play. I mean, I do have the Celesteela, but I don't think that it's very wise of me to bring it in like that on the potential max Airstream. Yeah, so I'm just gonna stall out all 3 turns of his Dynamax as the Landorus goes. Will KO the Nihilego, but he went for the Airstream, attacked into the max, and he gets another Airstream boost, which is nice. Actually, if he went for the Quake, then he might be out of range of a Meteor Beam, but like you can't really expect that from Team Preview. Like it's not as easy as it sounds to just like say, oh, that's probably the Celesteela set this or that, because it just has so many options. So it doesn't work out for him here, but it's understandable, I guess. And here, and as for me not going Celesteela into his Airstream, right? Like, I am very not bulky Celesteela, so if he Airstreamed into my Celesteela, that would have done a huge chunk, but I guess he wouldn't have known that. I still think Airstream was a pretty bad play, regardless, because it doesn't even punish Celesteela switching that hard anyways, if I am defensive and would switch into it. Or if I am offensive, I would never switch into it like that. So yeah, Celesteela takes out the Landorus, and this is a 1v2, which is really good, because I thought I was going to lose a lot more than that against the opposing Dynamax. And yep, my opponent brings in Cinderace last, and that means my I'll just sack my Celesteela here, but Dragonite should win this 1v1. And he decides to go for a high jump kick. Interesting play, because there's of course the recall, but at the same time, like, if Cinderace could be, I mean, doesn't really matter too much, but like if he misses Pyro Ball, then there's a good chance that he might just let the Air Slash, but just goes for the high jump kick, which is pretty interesting. He might be choice locked, as you see he goes for the high jump kick against the Dragonite, and that is GG. I'm going to take out this and win the game. Here we have a really standard team with the Urshifu, Zapdos, Mimikyu, Porygon 2, Dragonite, Excadrill. Everything is standard, and it is a very threatening team. Celesteela has a pretty good matchup here for sure, but of course they have the Zapdos. I'm going to use my Lanturn to beat the Zapdos, and then what else? I'm gonna bring Snorlax last, because I don't think he's gonna bring Urshifu. He probably is most concerned about the Dragonite, Celesteela, and maybe the Clefable out of my 6 here. And I don't think he's gonna bring Urshifu for just that. So I think Clefable and Snorlax both are pretty good there. Clefable might have been the more consistent pick. I just I am taking a bit of a gamble here, in case he does pick Urshifu, but let's see what he does. And I am going to be leading Celesteela. And he does lead Zapdos, so bad lead matchup for us. And there's a very good chance that he's just gonna straight up go for the electric move, even with the Lanturn. Because, I mean, the thing is, Lanturn versus Zapdos, Lanturn does beat Zapdos 1v1, but if it's like a defensive type of Zapdos, it can just roost and kind of put the situation in a near stalemate type of situation. It's still not favored for Zapdos, but it's not like, for example, Cinderace versus Ferrothorn. You gotta switch out right away. No, this isn't like that. Zapdos can afford to kind of like switch around, stay in and kind of go for hurricanes, chip it down, see what exactly my Lanturn is using, and then switch out. So this, even though not a good matchup for Zapdos, totally understandable why he just went straight up for the Volt Switch. And for that, I'm just gonna go for the Volt Switch of my own. If he stays in, then so be it. I'll know a little bit more about how he plays. And if he switched out to Excadrill, then that's a really an offensive play. But at the same time, it's not exactly the best uh, uh, best momentum gaining move anyways, because I do have the Celesteela in the back. So yeah, let's see what he does. Here I do go for a bit of an ambitious play. I go for the Meteor Beam here, because I thought he would just, because the Lanturn switch back out is so obvious. I thought I would either Leech Seed or Meteor Beam, but he in fact does go for the Volt Switch again, which is kind of annoying. I definitely paid for that mistake, and now I'm in a bit of a trouble here. But I will still get a Meteor Beam off on something, and that's gonna do it. That's gonna do a lot of damage on anything that is not Excadrill or especially defensive Porygon too. And if it's either of them, then I can just start Leech Seeding. It's not the worst of the situations here. So yeah, I do go for the Meteor Beam against the Excadrill, which fair. Like, why else would I stay in against Cinderace? No, against Zapdos with my Celesteela, I guess. So he scouts for the Meteor Beam and he gets it. And it's a bit of a tough choice here, a tough position for me. It's not a tough choice. I'm almost forced to go for the Leech Seed. It's still not a comfortable position, despite the easy Leech Seed, because I am at such low health. I want to recover as much health as possible, you know, so let's see what he goes for, because if he goes for like an Iron Head and it flinches me or anything like that, that could be like pretty much game over. And he does have the flinch going for him, and also the Leech Seed miss. Not good, but he goes for the Earthquake, so he makes a really greedy read of his own. I guess what this suggests to me is that he might be also choice locked, because like that is such a greedy play. Like first of all, he was a mold breaker, so if he had like rocks or horn drill, I think he would have gone for that like very easily. And yeah, he does go for the switch out, which definitely suggests to me that he might be Scarf in this situation. I definitely could have gone for a second Leech Seed on the obvious Zapdos switch-in, but I'll just let him go for the Volt Switch and get a Leech Seed off or something else. That is also fine as well, because
I'm gonna get some HP back either way. It would be nice to be at 25% higher health without going for the substitute and switching back out into the lantern, but it's alright. This isn't as bad as it could have been, despite the fact that I really blew it with the staying in on the volt switch, you know. So here I'm gonna go for the leech seed, and that is great because it is, to me here is like so obvious that he is gonna go for the Zapdos switching again because I did end up using my meteor beam, so I actually am going for the airs because I know that that's gonna do a ton against the Excadrill, and it's even also gonna do a lot to the Zapdos because I am at +1, and yes, I would have been able to uh, just one-shot the Zapdos if I were to have just Rockfall there, but if it doesn't work out, the price was huge. So I think I do definitely do stand by this play. And as you can see, that does a ton. And I am now going to be faster than the Zapdos at +1. And I'm just going to be able to KO with Rockfall. Because as you saw, like he is not Scarf. He did switch moves between Volt Switch and Hurricane, so I am definitely faster. Uh, I could have gone for the Airstream here as well, but I didn't want to just Airstream as he Dynamaxes into not KO. That'd be pretty bad.
And yeah, sorry for the bit of a missed clip job there, but I do get the KO. He does not Dynamax his Zapdos. Smart move on his behalf. Because, I mean, he did see the Meteor Beam, so he probably figured there was no point in Dynamaxing. So I'm gonna miss out on the +2 speed, but not the end of the world. Uh, it definitely will. There's a good chance that it'll come into play, though not getting the +2 speed. But I'm not gonna beat myself up over that because this is definitely the more consistent line of play. I didn't need to gamble when Celesteela is actually in such a good position. I'm guessing he is taking so much on these last two turns because Celesteela definitely he's seen all four of my moves on my Celesteela, and Excadrill does resist all of them, but at the same time Excadrill can't do much back either, so he does go for the Rock Tomb and drops my speed by 1. I'm gonna boost that right back and stay at +1. But +1 Celesteela isn't too fast. If he gets to set up anything, there's a good chance that he'll be able to boost past me, which is a real possibility. And he reveals Dragonite, so the +1 is gonna mean that after the Dragon Dance, I'm gonna be slower. But I'm just gonna go for the Leech Seed, and the hope here is that Snorlax will be able to beat the Dragonite 1v1, the Curselax, especially with the Leech Seed active. Should be a pretty good matchup for me. Pretty favored. I don't. It could end up being really bad if he just like Dragon Dances and I miss Leech Seed. But other than that, I don't see how else I could really lose from this position. Could get crit multiple times on the on the Snorlax, I guess. But yeah, I'm gonna land the Leech Seed. It's great. And he goes for the Dragon Dance as expected. So that is all fine and well. And I get recovery from Leech Seed. There's a few options here. Honestly, I could probably just sub and start winning the game that way. But honestly, I was a bit paranoid of really especially defensive type of Dragonite. So that's why I go to Lantern. I think he's gonna just Dynamax here, yeah, as it does. So if he goes for the Airstream, then I'll be able to get stall all 3 turns of Dynamax and bring Snorlax in. I so yeah, that I don't know. I think that might have been a misplay. I don't think it really matters too much though, because he does end up Dynamaxing, and he goes for the Max Wormwind and not Max Airstream. So that is a good play by him. He did see the Lantern before, so that he probably was aware of the fact that if he went for the Airstream, then he could just hit into the Lantern and lose 2 turns of Dynamax. And here I'm just gonna sack the Celesteela. There is no way I can actually do anything. I just go for the sub, but there is no way I'm getting a move off unless he max cards for no reason. And yep, no one's gonna do that. Celesteela goes down, and I get to bring in my Snorlax at full health. So I'm gonna show you guys the Snorlax spread. It is max defense with impish nature. No HP investment because Snorlax already has a lot of HP. Attack lets Snorlax pose an immediate threat after like 1 curse, as opposed to needing multiple curses. So I'm just gonna go for the first curse. This Max Wormwind should do a lot of damage. Yeah, so it does way over 2/3. But I'm gonna take the recovery from the berry and the leech seed. I'm gonna boost my defense with curse, and he is going to also hit weaker with outrage. That is if he actually does go for the outrage, right? So it could be scale shot. That'd be really bad and poor in this matchup. And dual wing beat also significantly weaker. So I'm just gonna take advantage of this turn to just go for a recovery move. If he roost, he's already above half health, so roosting doesn't get him too much. And if he goes for the Dragon Dance, I match him with the curse, not a problem. And I just gain an extra round of Leech Seed, and he does go for the Outrage, and it does approximately slightly above 1/3. So that is damage that I can actually stall out with just Recycle and Leech Seed, because I'm continuously making progress against this Dragonite. I'm taking health off of him with Leech Seed. And yeah, I'm definitely healthier than I started that turn. So I go for the Facade because it is important for me to push damage on this Dragonite as fast as possible, as to not give him maximum turns to crit me with. But the problem is I kind of forget. I kind of a misplay. I totally forgot about the Wormwind attack drop. So without that, that would have KO'd after the leech, but it misses out. And yeah, that's me realizing that that's not enough to KO. And for that reason, this is actually going to be a really close roll here, which I did not need to risk at all. So that is definitely my fault. Even though I am still heavily favored in this matchup. Uh, so that means that unless he gets lucky, he gets a high roll or something favorable RNG. But I kind of brought that upon myself. So yeah, I live on a 7. Totally unnecessary. So I could have just recycled and played that safe. And yeah, I just want to point that out. So even when I shouldn't have gotten complacent and should have totally tried to be focused until the end game there. I also could have went for the Facade there to not let him get 2 chances at the outrage crit. But yeah, so pretty sloppy end game there. I could have totally lost that. But that's it for today. Thank you guys for watching. See you next time. Bye.